All right, everybody, get ready. Because today we are diving headfirst into a genuine enigma, the Voynich Manuscript. We're talking about a centuries-old book that's basically a giant question mark in physical form. And, judging by the pile of articles and research you sent over, it seems like you're just as hooked on this mystery as we are.
Absolutely. And it's not every day we get a text that's stumped, well, pretty much everyone for centuries.
Right. Like, for real, it's a brain twister. So for anyone out there who hasn't yet tumbled down this rabbit hole, let's start with the manuscript itself. Picture a book, like about the size of a paperback you'd grab at the bookstore, right? And it's filled with elegant handwriting. Sounds kind of normal so far, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, deceptively normal.
Deceptively is right. Because the thing is, nobody can understand a single word of it. It's in a script that, well, let's just say it's in a league of its own. As if that wasn't enough, you've got these crazy illustrations scattered throughout the pages. I'm talking about bizarre plants, like nothing you'd ever find in nature, ladies. And they're naked, just hanging out in bathtubs connected by these tubes.
Ah, yes, the infamous bathing ladies. They've definitely fueled their fair share of theories over the years.
I can only imagine. And then there are the star charts. But here's the kicker. They don't line up with any known astronomical system. It's like a peek into some kind of parallel universe or something.
Yeah, those illustrations are something else. They definitely hint at potential subjects like maybe botany, astronomy, even medicine. But without the text, well, it's all a guessing game, isn't it? With the text being in what you call Voynichese.
Speaking of Voynichese, that's a whole other head scratcher, right?
Yeah.
Now, in your research request, you pointed out two articles with very different takes on what this language, if we could even call it that, actually is. One says it's a super complicated cipher, like some ancient coded message just waiting for the right key. The other claims it's a constructed language, maybe even an early attempt, like way early, at a universal language centuries before its time. What do you make of that?
Well, they're both fascinating possibilities, each as mind-boggling as the other, really. And when you look at the structure of Voynichese, it's easy to see why there's so much debate. It's incredibly consistent, almost like it's got a musicality to it. Some characters show up with this rhythmic regularity, and you see these patterns repeating throughout the text.
Hold on, are you saying there's a chance this Voynichese thing has a melody to it? Like if we could crack the code, we'd find some ancient song.
Well, not a song exactly, but it definitely has a distinct rhythm, and that's what leads many researchers to believe it can't just be gibberish. One of the articles you sent really dives into this. There's too much internal logic at play for it to be totally random. But whether that means it's a cipher or a totally separate language, well, that's the million-dollar question. Actually, scratch that with how much this manuscript is probably worth. It's more like a multi-million-dollar question.
You've got a point there, and that's something I want you, our listeners, to really think about as we go deeper into this. Because the way you interpret Voynichese, whether it's a secret code or a lost language, will completely change how you see all the theories surrounding the manuscript. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a step back in time and look at the bigger picture here. Because the Voynich Manuscript is more than just a book, right? It's like finding a time capsule buried centuries ago. And just like any good time capsule, this one comes loaded with these little clues about the past, just begging to be pieced together.
It's true. The manuscript's journey through time, it's practically as fascinating as the manuscript itself. It's a story full of whispers and dead ends and that irresistible pull of the unknown.
Okay, so get ready for a little history lesson. One of the articles you sent over, the one with the carbon dating analysis from the Benecke Library, it says the manuscript is from the early 1400s. Now, think back for a second. That puts us smack dab in the middle of the Renaissance, right?
Absolutely. A period of explosive intellectual curiosity in Europe, rediscovering classical knowledge, a time ripe for new discoveries. What a perfect backdrop for a mysterious manuscript to pop up.
Talk about a historical plot twist. The article mentions how this whole Renaissance connection actually fed into one of the very first theories about who wrote the Voynich manuscript. Apparently, one of the manuscript's early owners was convinced it was the work of Roger Bacon himself.
Ah, yes. Roger Bacon, the 13th century English philosopher and scientist, way ahead of his time. This guy was a genius, known for his work in optics, astronomy, even alchemy. He even dreamt up flying machines and submarines centuries before they became a reality.
See, I'm learning so much already. So this owner, probably caught up in that Renaissance craze for ancient wisdom and all things groundbreaking, thought, wait a minute, did I just stumble onto Roger Bacon's secret notebook?
Exactly. Imagine the thrill of thinking you'd cracked the code to the secrets of a scientific visionary centuries ahead of his time. It's no wonder that theory stuck around as long as it did.
Yeah, and until, well, carbon dating came along and kind of burst everyone's bubble, proving the manuscript was written a good while after old Roger Bacon was gone.
Mm.
But still, you can't deny the impact of that initial connection, right? It sets the stage for the Voynich Manuscript's crazy ride through the hands of scholars and collectors and conspiracy theorists and who knows who else.
Oh, absolutely. And that list of potential owners, it reads like a who's who of the mysterious and the brilliant. I mean, we're talking emperors, alchemists, even a Jesuit scholar, and this guy was famous for deciphering hieroglyphics. All of them linked to this one manuscript at some point or another.
Now, that's what I call an exclusive club. But here's the thing. Even with all that supposed interest, this manuscript, it manages to pull a disappearing act for centuries. Poof, vanished. Only to reappear in the hands of, get this, a book dealer in the early 1900s. Can you believe that?
Ah, yes, Wilfrid Voynich, entering the scene around 1912. He purchased the manuscript from a collection tucked away in a Jesuit college near Rome, if you can believe it. It was Voynich who really brought the manuscript into the spotlight.
And the manuscript's been basically attached to his name ever since. So who was this Voynich guy? Was he just some random bookworm who stumbled into an incredible luck? Not even close to random. Voynich was a Polish-born book dealer and antiquarian with a serious nose for rare finds. He was living in London when he got his hands on the manuscript and quickly became obsessed with it.
Obsessed is an understatement. He dedicated years of his life to trying to decipher it, even enlisting the help of some of the world's leading cryptographers.
Talk about a rabbit hole. It really speaks to how captivating this manuscript is. It's not just the mystery of the language either. It's the tantalizing possibility that it contains some lost knowledge or insight. And that brings us to the heart of the matter, the attempts to decode the undecipherable.
And believe me, there's no shortage of theories. The Voynich manuscript has attracted some of the most brilliant and eccentric minds of the past century, each with their own interpretation.
Like that article you sent about the team who used artificial intelligence to analyze the text. They made headlines a few years back claiming Voynich's was actually Hebrew.
Yes, the team trained their AI on various languages, and Hebrew came out as the closest match. They even managed to generate a partial translation, suggesting the manuscript might be related to medieval medicine, specifically herbal remedies.
But you mentioned in your initial request that even the researchers themselves admitted their translation wasn't perfect. They relied heavily on readily available tools like Google Translate, which, as we all know, can be a bit hit or miss, even with well-established languages.
Exactly. Translating a known language with its nuances and idioms is already a complex task for AI, let alone tackling a completely unknown language like Voynich's.
Okay, so that's one theory down. What about some of the other big ones?
Well, you've got the ever-persistent theory that it's a sophisticated cipher. And looking at the structure of Voynich's, it's easy to see why this theory has legs. The consistent patterns, the recurring symbols, it all seems to suggest a hidden message just waiting to be unlocked.
Right. It's like those spy movies where they're trying to crack codes with all sorts of algorithms and secret keys. It really gets the imagination going. In fact, one article you sent mentions that during World War II, U.S. Army codebreakers, the same folks who cracked the Japanese Enigma code, were tasked with deciphering the manuscript.
They were. But even with their expertise, the codebreakers came up empty-handed.
So, if even the best codebreakers in the world couldn't make sense of it, does that lend credence to the whole lost language theory? Is it possible we're looking at a language that simply vanished without a trace?
It's certainly within the realm of possibility. Think about how many languages have been lost throughout history due to migration, conquest, or simply the passage of time. And one of your articles dives into linguistic analysis, pointing out that Voynich's does exhibit some characteristics of natural languages, like a consistent grammar system and a logical structure.
So not just random scribbles, then?
Not random at all. The complexity and internal consistency of the script have led some linguists to believe it could be a Creole language, a blend of two or more languages that emerge from a specific cultural context.
So maybe a group of traders, travelers, or even, dare I say, a secret society developed their own secret code. The plot thickens. Though, to play devil's advocate, you included one article that presents a very different perspective. The hoax theory. You know, the idea that the whole thing is an elaborate prank, a 15th century version of a viral internet meme.
And it's easy to understand why some people lean towards that theory. The manuscript's undecidable nature, the bizarre illustrations, and the air of mystery surrounding its origins. It does make you wonder if someone was pulling a fast one on the world.
Maybe some bored monk with too much time on his hands. Though if it is a hoax, you'd think someone would have fessed up by now. Then again, a good secret kept for centuries becomes a legend, right?
Exactly. And that's the enduring allure of the Voynich Manuscript. It's a puzzle box that refuses to be easily categorized.
It really makes you think. What feels most plausible to you? Is it a cipher waiting to be cracked? A lost language whispering secrets from the past? Or an elaborate hoax designed to puzzle us for centuries?
Whatever your perspective, one thing's for sure, the Voynich Manuscript isn't just a book. It's a mirror reflecting our endless fascination with the unknown, with the limits of language, and our desire to unlock the secrets of the past.
Beautifully put. And who knows, maybe one day you, our listener, will be the one to crack the code. If you're ready to dive deeper into this captivating puzzle, check out the Beinecke Library's website. They have a fully digitized version of the manuscript available for anyone to explore. Get lost in the mystery, scrutinize the theories, and see what you discover. Who knows, maybe you'll stumble upon the key to unlocking the secrets of the Voynich Manuscript. Happy hunting.